Nous, on ne veut surtout pas passer en live sur le vrai maintenant. Les ennuis. Si tu passes en live sur YouTube, si tu stoppes le live,
c'est fini.
C'est fini. Tu dois en créer un.
Ah bah maintenant tu dis ça parce que j'aurais testé.
Voilà. Et puis, du coup, c'est pour ça que je réfléchis bien avant de faire.
Parce qu'après,
alors, c'est pas. Vu que tu as l'adresse sur un bit.ly, sur bit.ly, tu peux le corriger jamais?
Non.
Non.
Non, tu peux pas changer la source. Tu peux changer la fin, mais pas la source.
C'est toutes les images. On n'a pas envie de refaire toutes les images. Voilà. Maintenant, on va dans Create.
Ouais.
Live. Si j'en fais un nouveau pivot test. Maintenant, on va juste vérifier qu'est-ce que tu as mis comme string key dans celui-là.
Je vais être sûr que.
Tout YouTube string key. Okay.
Ah, donc ça veut dire que c'est bien connecté. C'est la bonne.
Ah merde, non, mais c'est pas.
Oh, non.
Pourquoi il est parti?
Oh non.
Tout seul. Il est. Merde, c'est live. Voilà.
Ok, génial.
On teste avec les filles.
Oui, c'est pas grave.
Voilà.
C'est pas grave. Et puis on peut tester avec les clips, les switcher.
Voilà, le film premier. Donc ça, c'est le Q.
Et puis.
Ça, c'est le YouTube Studio. Voilà. Et puis nous,
tu veux. Je sais pas.
Comment clique. Le film commence dans son ce lien-là.
Oui.
Vous pouvez faire.
Tout à fait. Mais.
L'image aussi après, c'est dans les autres trucs comme ça, on ne touche pas.
Donc, par contre, moi, mon Zoom, je suis obligée d'utiliser. Voilà, je peux fermer ça. Ah oui, moi j'ai là. Ouais.
Toi, ton Zoom à toi, c'est celui-là.
Ouais, mais par contre, moi, c'est ça que j'utilise.
Là, tu as les participants. Les participants. Si toi, tu craches, on perd ça. Ouais. Mais moi, j'envoie toujours le Zoom.
Comment ça? Tu l'envoies comment?
Ma vidéo passe toujours dans le Zoom, donc dans le stream. Moi, j'envoie la vidéo dans le Zoom.
Donc, ça même sera toujours live. C'est juste qu'on peut les filles. Bien, non, toi, tu as les filles aussi. Toi, tu es là.
Moi, j'envoie. Si toi, tu dois me mettre comme co-host, là, c'est déjà co-host. Et pour moi, au pire, si jamais ici, on peut aussi agir.
Donc, host, c'est vraiment la caméra de Simon. Mais par contre, où c'est mute.
Toi, tu dois te muter si tu voulais parler, mais toi, tu ne veux pas.
Non.
Ça, c'est toi, ça, c'est moi.
Ah oui, oui,
c'est toi, le promote, c'est moi.
Bien sûr, oui. Mais au niveau de... Parce que, en fait, j'ai jamais fait le streaming pour savoir qui c'est que je mange, je dois venir
Oui,
D'accord.
je ne peux pas parce que ça, on ne voit rien. Et puis,
Est-ce que je peux t'envoyer?
nous, maintenant, je me mets en
Rachel and Adrienne, could you both unmute yourselves and just say something?
Yep, I'm here.
Yep, here still watching.
Adrienne, could you just do the same?
Yep, can you hear me?
I can hear you both perfectly. I don't know how the guys are.
Perfect.
Julie, did you get that? Sorry, just bear with us for one moment. Sorry.
Yeah. So, Adrienne, can you say something?
Could you say something again, Adrienne?
Yep, sure, I'm here. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, thank you both. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this question and answer session, following on from the virtual premiere of Flow. Huge thank you to everyone that just joined us. I was very excited watching the video, and I know we've had people Toronto, Mexico City, Utah, Chamonix, Sweden, all around the world watching that video. Thanks for joining us, and let's continue that theme because it feels like a virtual party. So there should be some live chat or add comments. Let us know where you are in the comments, and if you know us, let us know how you know us, because it's always nice to kind of reconnect with friends, especially at a time like this. I think, like everything we do at Like the Wind, what we were aiming to do with this film was tell stories that are about runners and running, and I think that particular film really. So I'm super excited to be joined now by Rachel and Adrienne, who shared their stories in Flow. And we're going to ask them a few questions, and some of them, those questions will come from you guys who've been asking them in the comments on the film. But I just wanted to start with Like the Wind. When we launch something, we tend to try and do it with a party, get a bunch of runners in a room, and obviously, sadly, that's not possible today. So we're really happy that we've had the opportunity to connect with everyone here. And for those of you who are perhaps new to Like the Wind, you might not know what Like the Wind is. It was founded in 2014 by, and we started it with a mission to tell stories. Simple as that. It was all about why we run, not how to run. And we've been successfully publishing every quarter for the last 7 years. We have actually just uploaded a flick through. So if anyone's interested in what Like the Wind looks like, you can check out that flick through video on YouTube. But there you go. That's enough of the pitch. I'm going to get Adrienne and Rachel involved now so that we can ask them a few questions. So we'll get started. And I think the first thing for me, absolutely the most important thing to both Adrienne and Rachel is to for letting us tell your stories, because it of Like the Wind, it's why we exist. And I think both of your stories were enormously powerful. So thank you both very much for that opportunity. My first question actually is for Rachel, because obviously we've seen in the film that you've had a relationship with running for a very long time, from when you, but it feels as though your relationship with running now is very different from what it was when you were much younger. I was curious to ask you what similarities you see between your running now and your running when you were a competitive.
Yeah. Hi, Simon, and everyone watching. Thanks for having me. I'm actually still at work. I'm not sure if you can see the studio behind me. So I'm joining you straight after a long work day. But I love the film. So thank you for making Adrienne and myself look so great in it and telling our story so well. But in answer to your question, similarities from back in the day when I was competing to how I am as an athlete now, there are not as many as maybe I thought, but I guess similarities are the fact that it gives my life structure. It gives me another focus away from my career now, working in the media as a presenter and a content creator. And I love that I can see improvements. And I think that's also what I loved that I could do when I was trying to be an elite athlete, obviously on a much different scale. I know that if I have a really heavy kind of time of it with work, I don't run for a month or so, or not as much running as I like, and then I have a little bit of time off because I'm freelance, I can see myself getting better and better, and I love that improvement with running. And I think that's why so many people love it as well. They can see themselves getting better and better if they put the hard work in. And I'm sure I'm like Adrienne, we said, you know, we haven't got as much time for it, but we kind of fit it in as and when, and it's a part of our life. So yeah, and it still gives me that sense of community. I have such great friends in the running world, and I still get to travel with it, which I absolutely love, to go and do all these cool races. So it's just not as stressful as it used to be, which is the main difference. And that's a great thing.
Well, and something you just said there, it brings me on to my question for Adrienne, because you know, clearly from what we see in the film, and you know, running is a huge part of your life now, Adrienne. I mean, but it wasn't, you know, before your husband was taken ill. So, is it a surprise to you that running's become such a central part of your life? Did you expect it?
Yeah, you know what? It's a good question, because if I think back then, I didn't expect it at all. I think at the time it was born out of necessity. You know, it was something I could do. I was craving solitude, I suppose, as well. You know, something I could just do by myself, and you know, as I said, just kind of having that time away from everything that was going on, just to kind of, I guess, have half an hour by myself, headphones were on, and I could just go out the door. So I don't know, I didn't have any expectation. I certainly didn't, you know, it wasn't like, right, I'm going to run a marathon. I just said, I'll just run around the block once or twice. So I didn't have any expectation, but I think, I think it's kind of a real testament to the fact that sometimes you never know, you know, you can't underestimate the small things, and actually the small things over time, repetition, you know, again, a little bit further, a little bit faster, you know, I think actually, it's a real good testament to just starting something, whatever it is, you know, running or anything else, just starting without expectation. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved what you said in the film about, you don't compete, you don't complete running. I mean, there's no endpoint, which I think is fantastic. I mean, it's sort of, we thrive on the fact that there's endless running stories, because every run is sort of a mini story in and of itself. Which actually, Rachel, to go back to you, I wrote down in my notes, well, you used to run around in circles on the track, which is possibly slightly denigrating track and field, but there you go. But now that I presume that's less part of your running, what have been some of your kind of favourite running experiences in the sort of Rachel running 2.0, the kind of renaissance of your running after you moved to London?
Yeah, it's very different. It's not so much running around in circles. It is only if I feel like I want to do a bit of speed work, and that's not very often. Okay. But in terms of my, I guess, favorite running experiences since, I'd probably go to when one of my great friends, Rachel, and myself literally just decided we'd get on a plane and fly to Jersey, and we'd run around it in a day, just because why not? And it's 48 miles, and we got a plane at like 6 a.m. that morning, just took a backpack each, and we basically kept the sea to the right-hand side. That was literally all we knew. We're like, yeah, we keep the sea to our right, we're pretty sure there's a trail that goes all around the island. And we got told it was the first nice day they'd had all year. It was in February. It was a little bit cold, but it was sunny. And we had such an adventure. And then the hotel staff, I think, were so shocked and proud that we'd done this ridiculous run in the day. They gave us a free meal in the house. So, we won at life that day. So that was a great adventure that we had. And I think, like Adrienne as well, running my first marathon, which was also London, back in 2015. That was featured actually in the film. I ran 3 hours 14, and it was one of those great days. I crossed the line. I was like, I absolutely loved it. Never thought I'd run a marathon from 800 meters to 26.2. I was like, nah, never going to do it. And I loved it. And yeah, want to do many more marathons in the years to come. So very different, one a bit more structured and one absolutely not, but equally as fun.
I have to say, I absolutely love that transition. When I was trying to run properly, I used to go and do track sessions, and there would be track and field athletes on the track at the same time, and they looked at us marathon runners like we were all crazy. So I love the fact that you've made that full transition. I mean, Adrienne, just coming back to you, I mean, again, through the film, we really get this sense of your energy and your determination. I think that comes across massively. And from reading your book, The Power Hour, there's this idea of grasping the moment, not putting things off. Can you sort of expand on that idea a little bit? I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone in their life will have experiences, adversity, everyone has a story. Actually, everyone has a story. And I think often when people hear my story, or when they listen to me speak, maybe if I'm doing a motivational talk or an event, they'll say, oh, you know what, Adrienne, I feel so inspired by what you said. I feel so motivated by your energy. I really wish I could do this. And when I'm older, I'm going to do that. Or when I've got more time, I'm going to start doing it. Or when my kids are older, or when I've got more money, or when I lose weight. And they tell me all these things they'd love to do if they had more time. But unfortunately, for a lot of people, I think tomorrow stays tomorrow. Or if you're unfortunate and, life doesn't always go to plan, you might not get to do those things. And I think maybe due to the experiences of my own life or of others, I've definitely seen that play out. And so I don't want to, waste. I live with a sense of urgency, actually, as a result of that, because I really truly understand that we are going to live this life once. And I just don't want to waste a moment, a week, a year, a month, whatever, putting things off that I could just give it a go, just get started, just do it, just make it happen. And that's really what I want to, that's my mission, that's my passion, is to encourage others to just really understand that, and just whatever their thing is, whether it's running, whether they want to write a book, whether they want to start a new project, don't put it off, just get started and make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about getting started, I'm going to come back to you quickly, Rachel, because we've got a question. You talked in the film about when you came to London, you started joining all these clubs to find some friends. And Daniel has asked, have you stayed a member of all of those clubs?
I think I listed about 5 there. So I mean, I'd have to, that'd be every day of the week pretty much where I'm pretty busy. No, I haven't, Daniel, is the answer to your question, but I've still got some great friends from those clubs. And actually one of them lives really close to me, and one of them actually lives in Gran Canaria, and we still like FaceTime, and hopefully when COVID lifts, I can go over and visit him. But yeah, lots of them are still on Instagram, and that's the power of running. That running community never leaves you. We're always still like trading. Oh, where have you been for a run? Should we meet up when we're allowed and go for a run? Or should we go and, absolutely do a ridiculous session up Swains Lane? If you guys live in London, you'll know that in North London on a Saturday morning. Runners, cyclists, absolutely putting it to this lane. But no, unfortunately, my work is quite busy at the moment. So yeah, maybe when the summer comes around and I can kind of have a bit of time, I'd love to go back to Track Mafia at Paddington Rec. It's awesome, super motivating place to go and run circles again. That's always quite nice.
Yeah, shout out to Corey there for being the master motivator. I mean, you just mentioned COVID. It would be inappropriate to not sort of touch on that. Obviously everyone has been struggling with what's been happening with COVID-19. People's lives have been upended. You both talk about experiences that you've had in your lives that really flipped everything on its head. And I just wanted to ask both of you whether there's lessons, or what lessons you learned from your personal experiences that perhaps could relate to COVID and the personal challenges that people are kind of facing now, things that you figured out that other people could benefit from. And we will
sorry, start with me.
Yeah,
sorry, I couldn't hear you for a second. Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, I'm thinking about it, and you know what? I think if I'm really, really honest, in the moment when something is difficult, or more than difficult, when something is just awful, you're not looking, and for me anyway, even though I'm Mrs. Optimist, Mrs. Positive Pants, in that moment, I'm not looking and going, you know what's the silver lining of this disaster? Let's look on the bright side. I think when you're in something, I think it's okay to just be in it and go, you know what, this is shit. I wouldn't choose this. I don't want this. You can feel whatever you feel, annoyed, frustrated, disappointment, heartbreak, like those are real. And I think not just looking forward and going, okay, what's next, but just actually thinking, how do I feel right now? And how is this impacting me at the moment? Later on, I think, when it sounds very cliche, the whole thing of time and letting part the passage of time and time healing, but it really does. So I think just allowing for that time, and then when you look back in retrospect, I think that's when you're sometimes able to really see the lessons or see the growth, or to understand, okay, actually I really developed something in that time. But when you're experiencing it, I think it's for me anyway, that was my experience, was to just be like, this is shit. But afterwards, reflecting and going, okay, it was difficult, it was challenging. You don't have to apologize for that. You don't have to downplay it. It can be what it is. That's certainly been the case for me anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Rachel, what were your thoughts on that?
Quite similar, actually. I'm someone that likes to be always upbeat and looking the positive side of everything, or finding something positive in a negative situation. But I'm someone who, if I'm feeling down, I'll have a moment, but that's kind of all it is. I know if my mum was listening, she would agree. I would probably feel a little bit sorry for myself for about half an hour. Then I kind of go, no, this is being silly. Again, I'm very good at looking into myself and how I feel and addressing that. And then I kind of like to actually look back at a Disney movie. One of my favorites, me and my brother used to watch, Finding Nemo. Obviously, just keep swimming, that classic line from that, just keep swimming, kind of you'll get there in the end. And I kind of always liken that to my life, just keep going. And in running, I've said the mantra quite a few times in marathons, just keep running, just keep going. And, it will pass. That whatever that negativity that you're feeling, or that moment, or that hardship, it does pass. If you want it to. You can sit in that moment and dwell on it, and then it possibly won't. But if you've got the right mindset and you think positively, I think, you will get there in the end. And I think it's always important, like Adrienne said as well, to look back. And I can look back on COVID. I got to spend, great time with my family during lockdown. I went back to Norfolk in the countryside and was with my sister who was having her first baby at the time. So it was actually a really lovely time in my life. And now looking back on it, I feel really lucky to have had that experience. So there's a positive, I think, to take from a lot of situations you find yourself in.
We've had another question, which I think sort of slightly relates to this. And I was going to ask Dave has asked about use mindfulness when you're running, training, racing. We'll just go, that's something that sort of is part of your comes to being a runner.
Yeah, well, it certainly is for me. I think that actually I was recording a podcast this morning with a meditation expert. You know, this man has been meditating for 20 years. And I think throughout the last 10 years, I've got so many friends who would say to me, oh, you know, you're so busy, you're always on the go, you're always doing this, doing that, you know, you should meditate. Do you meditate? You know, and I actually think for me, running is a meditation, you know, not every time, not all the time, not every minute, every mile, but actually when you have when I have those moments, when I have the time when I'm just out and I'm not thinking about running, I'm not thinking about work, I'm not thinking about emails or kids, or I'm just out, just going. That for me is quite a meditative, you know, state. And I feel like even the flow state, you know, it's a time when, again, I can be in solitude. I can just be really exactly where I am. I'm not thinking about yesterday, I'm not thinking about tomorrow, I am just there in that moment. And isn't that really what meditation is? I think, you know, it doesn't have to just be sitting still, sitting quiet, you know, it can be, for me, in that motion, in that flow state. That for me is meditation. Yeah.
How about
I would say I used to use it more in my, let's say, former career as a runner. Absolutely. I saw a couple of psychologists to help with this. I did a lot of kind of mental imagery. I also used to print out a lot of kind of positive affirmations. And I actually think they're still in my bedroom at my parents' house, in like my wardrobe. On the back of it, it was like, I'm strong, I'm fast, I can do this. A lot of that kind of wording that I used to repeat to myself before a race or in training sessions. And I used to repeat things over and over again. So I can remember like treacherous training sessions on a dark, wintry Tuesday night at a field somewhere in Norfolk. And I would just say to myself, whatever goal that was for that season. So, I don't know, Commonwealth Youth Games, I would literally repeat in my head, I want to go to the Commonwealth Youth Games. I'm doing like a 10-minute tempo, and that's exactly what's going through my head on repetition. I'll be like, oh, I've got a minute left. So I used to use it much more than I do now. But I've actually just started reading Wim Hof's book. And obviously he talks kind of about breathing and the cold showers, getting in that kind of meditative state. So I'm using it in a different way for my life as a whole and to better myself as a person. And hopefully that will transition into my running and everything else I do as well, but not necessarily as focused on running as it used to be.
Sure. Okay, so we're gonna sort of start wrapping things up a little bit here, because I could go on forever. I mustn't. Rachel, you just said then about the fact that you're going to be taking daily ice baths, and you'll see how that plays a part in your running for the future. So my last question, really, for both of you guys is, what are your hopes and aspirations for your running going forward? Because obviously, you positivity, both of you. I mean, film moment. So what are your plans going forward, Rachel? And then we'll come back to Adrienne.
I'll say actually, Simon, as well, I'm on day 11 of ice baths. I did the first week of 30 seconds, and now I'm up to the 4 days of a minute. So I'm still at the kind of deep breathing panic stage in the mornings after my nice hot shower, then the cold. But actually my body does feel hot when I get out of the shower, no longer freezing cold. Anyway, yeah, it's a great book. I'm loving it. My ambitions, I'd love to run sub 3 hours for the marathon. My PB today is 3 hours and 15 seconds in London. And I actually had a moment on the finish line. I kind of cried because I was 15 seconds, in my opinion, slightly too slow. A friend of mine told me on the line, he was like, you didn't quite make it. I was like, have to do it again then, and haven't quite managed that yet. And I would love to do some more ultras. I really want to get out into the mountains when we're allowed and have a running adventure. Like, that's what I want to do, running adventures and make some more friends along the way. Because for me, that's what running is about now.
Fantastic. And what about you, Adrienne? Running ambitions?
Well, firstly, Rachel, very impressed with the Wim Hof in the cold showers. I'm also a big fan of Wim Hof method and all of the benefits of breathwork, cold therapy. Big fan. So keep it up because it's great. So I guess I've got two goals, for the future for myself as a runner. One is similar to Rachel, I want to have adventures. I think given the last year, 18 months that we've all had and having to run the same couple of routes by my house, I'm definitely looking for some new running adventures. I want to travel. I want to go somewhere and run some beautiful places and meet new people and just, have some running adventures. And then I say the second goal for the future for my running really is to encourage more young people and young girls, young women into running. So I mentor some young people through a Hackney-based charity called the Outrunners, and they've recently started their youth run for 13 to 18-year-olds. So I'm really hoping to get involved as much as I can to encourage them, to get them to bring their friends. I think I didn't have running in my life at that age, and I think there's a lot more role models in sport for men than there are for women and for young girls. So that's my two goals. My personal goal is to have adventures, and then I guess the goal further than that is to encourage others and actually go out and be like, come on, and see them and take them on that journey as well.
Brilliant. Well, I think if of how time and inspiring both of you are, then you are going to absolutely smash all of your targets, even if that does involve spending a lot of time in cold water. I am just left with enough time to say a huge thank you. Joined us today for this premiere of Flow. It was an absolute pleasure working with both of you guys on the production of the film. I want to say a massive thank you to for allowing us to tell their stories, for being so candid. We've had loads of messages from people watching the video saying how inspiring it was to see the film. So huge thank you, guys. And support to Like the Wind magazine. I mean, people that buy copies and you are the reason that we keep producing the magazine, keep publishing stories. A special thanks in this case for supporting us in our creative pursuits, because without them we wouldn't have been able to make this film. I'm really grateful for everyone's participation, and keep running. Perhaps having an opportunity to all meet up for a beer post-run fairly soon. Let's keep our fingers crossed.